Once they start renting the place out, they can make roughly around 3 lakh rupees. So around Mumbai, people will generally drive to a Lonavala, Alibag, Karjat and Igatpuri, if you think from a return point of view, are much better markets.
And what about down south?
South for Bangalore, people will generally look at Coorg as a market to buy a home. What we found interesting is that Chikmagalur will give you better returns. Villa with 4 rooms could be on average about 20,000 to 24,000 rupees a night to even 40 to 50,000 rupees a night.
Amit, your family is one of the families whose names always comes up in the context of investing, whether it's about equity investing or, as you were telling me earlier, about gold. From that to being a consultant to setting up StayVista, how did conceptually StayVista happen?
Yeah. Again, trying to take a contrarian view, right? Everyone was running towards hotels. Everyone was thinking about standardization there. What we felt was a gap was both from a homeowner point of view and a consumer point of view, that this market is evolving, the entire holiday homes, homestay segment, and it's something that will grow. So first, taking the view of the consumer.
Sure.
Ankita, my co-founder, she's been staying at holiday homes for the last 20 plus years. Even before Airbnb existed, they used to book villas in Lonavala via local travel agents. So they would call that person, he would share some information about a property and they would book it.
Sure.
At that point, there wasn't even like WhatsApp, right? Like where photos could be exchanged. So you're literally going on the trust of that person, whatever that person has said, ki haan, garden milega, 4 room hai udhar, view acha hai, etc. But what they were always worried about at these homes was the maintenance of the property.
Sure.
And what will you get as service over there? So they would carry their linens, they would carry all their toiletries, they would carry a cook, they would carry spices and other things to make food. So literally packing half of your home and carrying it there, because you just don't know what will you get.
Sure.
Now that was such an easy problem to solve for, right? But no one was really solving it. Platforms like Airbnb were just building where you can connect.
Yeah.
A host and a guest can connect, but who's taking care of that end-to-end experience was still a gap. And that's what, I think that was a clear insight that we had, that someone needs to solve that end-to-end problem.
I want to actually go into the 3 different perspectives. There is the consumer side of things. There is the StayVista's perspective. Obviously, you have to be a sustainable business. And the third part is the property owner. Yeah. So almost like 3 people involved in this relationship. Yeah. What's the thought process a property owner comes into this discussion with?
Honestly, internally with our team, we keep telling them this is a wealth management business because each of these homeowners are looking to monetize their asset, but also maintain their asset. Sure. The most important thing for each of these homeowners is that the asset value should not erode. Sure. So no one should come there and just damage the property or misuse the property in any way.
Got it.
The only challenge with this segment is that there's also a strong attachment or emotional attachment to this asset as well. So you have to take care of that piece as well.
So typically a homeowner, I guess, is somebody who's got a primary home in a city, has done relatively well for themselves, and now has some extra capital, and they invest in a property.
Correct.
And if I were to do this role play, like I have built this house for my wife, and suddenly like StayVista is telling me that, you should lease it to us. Yeah. How do you even approach that conversation?
Maybe when we started off, we realized there's no point trying to go after someone who doesn't do this.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't do this.
Okay.
So as I was sharing, when Airbnb started, how did they start building their platform was they went on Craigslist and they listed their properties on Craigslist, and that's what drove demand to them. Sure. And similarly, they saw supply on Craigslist and realized these guys want to give out their property for short-term rentals as well. Let's connect with them and get these on our platform. For us, it was looking at properties on Airbnb, and we looked at certain metrics to identify which homeowners doing a terrible job in hosting.
Okay.
So they're very interested in doing this, but they aren't doing this in a very active manner.
So you listed the low-rated homeowner hosts on the Airbnb.
Exactly. So we looked at the quality of their photos. So we saw this property has very high potential of looking good, but it looks terrible because of the quality of photos. Someone just clicked it with their phone and put it up.
So you did to Airbnb what Craigslist Or Airbnb did to Craigslist.
Exactly. I think that was our starting point.
Okay.
So we looked at all of those metrics and we connected with those homeowners and said that we are confident we'll do a much better job with your asset as a wealth manager and just give it to us. We'll take over all the hassles of doing this. Whatever our fees are, we're confident you're going to make much more than that.
You know, if I'm a property owner looking to set up a new property, where would you advise me to go? Like, which are some of the locations where you think there are opportunities? How should we think about that?
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot over the last 7-8 years on locations where we didn't expect as higher demand, because at the end of the day, what will drive your returns, if you're thinking from a return point of view, is occupancy, primarily occupancy. Pricing can vary a little bit, but occupancy is what drives returns. So there it comes down to which markets have the best occupancy. This will vary location to location.
Okay.
What do I mean by location is that if you take each metro destination, which are the getaway markets that people travel to from there.
Okay.
A getaway in our mind is anywhere that someone can drive to within 2 to 5 hours.
Okay.
So around Mumbai, people will generally drive to a Lonavala, Alibag. But say Karjat and Igatpuri are two destinations which were thought about after Lonavala and Alibag, right? But because land prices have gone up so much over the last 5 to 6 years, Karjat and Igatpuri, if you think from a return point of view, are much better markets now. And we'll have similar occupancies to an Alibag and Lonavala.
Nice.
So if your occupancies are the same, then the only thing that matters is the cost at which you're getting this property. Hence these two locations. Then similarly for North, there what we found interesting was that markets where supply is limited is where you can do better other than occupancy.
Okay.
So for example, Mussoorie as a market, it's drivable from Delhi. People like going there. Occupancies are great. Why occupancy is great in that market is also because construction is limited in Mussoorie.
Got it.
So that's artificially limited the amount of supply that can come up there. So if you can buy a home there, or if you can get a home not only in Mussoorie, but it could be half an hour outside of Mussoorie, you'll get a better return versus say getting a home in Kasauli.
Got it. And what about down south in Bangalore?
So in south for Bangalore, if you look at it, people will generally look at Coorg as a market to buy a home. What we found interesting is that Chikmagalur will give you better returns than Coorg. So in each of those markets, we found that which properties or which locations based on supply and demand, it would make the most sense to get a property.
So I think that like what I'm taking away is I have to be reasonably close to an urban destination so that there is enough demand. And within that, then you have to look at pockets of supply gaps which are there and then plug those gaps.
Precisely. And then I think, for India, there are certain holiday markets. So getaways is one where you can get to easily, but holidays are like Goa, where you'll even take a flight to. Ooty is a holiday market. Munnar is a holiday market. Srinagar is a holiday market. Now, in those holiday markets as well, it's the same principle, exactly what you said. You have to look at supply. How large is that supply in that market? And is there enough supply to meet existing demand or not? So, for example, we feel Munnar has very limited supply today. So, there is a high need to increase supply there to meet that demand. So that's a great market to invest in.
And now tell me about the economic model for the property owner. Like how, like on the fees side, how much money do they make? And we can probably run with an example of a property, say worth 6 crore rupees.
So generally what you'll see is that these homeowners use these homes on average for about 15 to 20 years in a year.
15 to 20 days in a year.
15 to 20 days in a year. So 350 days of the year, this property is lying vacant. So what can you do on those 350 days is what the homeowner is constantly thinking about. What we've seen on average is a homeowner used to pay, or without renting the property, has an expense of anywhere between 1 lakh to 1.5 lakhs.
Per month?
Per month.
So, okay.
So those are salaries that they're paying, electricity bills, gardening, any other wear and tear that needs to be taken place.
So let's say for a 6 crore property, there's a monthly outgo of 1 to 1.5 lakhs. Okay.
Right. So once they start renting the place out, they can make roughly around 3 lakh rupees on that property as sales.
Right.
Net, they'll make roughly about 1.5 lakhs.
Okay. So when you say net, the difference between the 3 lakhs, which is the sales, and 1.5 lakh, which they get,
Expenses.
is what StayVista retains.
No. So the 1.5 lakhs is including their expenses.
Got it.
Right? So out of 3 lakhs,
Okay.
they had an expense of say 1 lakhs earlier as well.
Yeah.
And then additionally, there's a marketing cost.
Sure.
So 1.5 lakhs is positive that they make now.
Sure.
So they went from a negative 1 lakh to 1.5 lakhs to now positive 1.5 lakhs.
Got it.
That's the shift that takes place for a homeowner.
Got it.
So from being a negative asset, negative yielding asset, it's become a positive yielding asset for them.
Do they have to like put in some bit of capital to make the property in a way that it can be leased out?
Yeah, so most homes, because the homeowner goes there on a regular basis and they want, family members or friends to go there, they're already taking care of it in some way.
Sure.
What are the changes typically that are required are more of soft furnishings. So, for example, if I speak about my home as well in Lonavala, when we would not give it out, generally what would happen is that it's treated as a second home, which means even your second-hand goods from your first home end up going there.
Sure.
So your bed sheets, which have become old in your first home, which is in the city, then those go to your second house. Or you want to change your chairs in your home, you send those chairs now to your second home.
Got it.
But a lot of those elements at the end of the day don't look as good or don't work for a consumer. So what do we need to fix? We need to fix the aesthetics of the home. So one is getting the bed sheets in hospitality standards, just keep them white so it's easy to maintain and replace. Add toiletries to the rooms. Ensure the cutlery and crockery that is being given to guests is not just some random colored cutlery, crockery which you had.
Sure.
Just standardized those.
Got it.
So primarily, it's the cost of standardization that takes place and certain fixes. For example, there might be leakage somewhere or some AC stopped working. So how do you get those fixed before you get started? What's the average cost? The average cost is anywhere between 5 to 7 lakhs to get the property ready and running to be given to guests.
Sure.
That 5 to 7 lakhs you recover if you're making net 1.5 lakhs, in 3 to 4 months you recover that.
Got it. So there is let's say a 6 crore property, you can make 1.5 lakhs per month on that property for a reasonably long period of time. And with some minor investments of 5 to 7 lakhs at the beginning.
Correct, exactly.
Which are the kind of property owners that StayVista reaches out to? Like how do you decide that this particular property is what we would want to have on our platform?
Yeah, so, first from an owner profile, initially most people who would give their home started giving their home because they had experience staying at an Airbnb.
Got it.
Internationally generally.
Okay.
And they liked that idea and they loved the idea of being a host themselves. So those early adopters from a homeowner point of view were the ones who were very passionate about it.
Yeah.
After they started doing this, their neighbors started seeing this and realizing that this is a great way to take care of your home.
Got it.
So the neighbors started doing it. After this, when people see that there's a certain amount of income you're making as well, then the guys who start thinking from a purely income point of view start doing this as well. So we've seen that journey from a homeowner. It's the passionate guys followed by your neighbors who see it as a way to cover your expenses to people who now think about like, can I generate decent amount of income out of this as well?
Sure. But, if I already have a second home, I'm trying to get an extra return from it by leasing it to StayVista. That's one part of it. But the moment I'm deploying cash, I'm thinking about the return I'll get from StayVista, but also the potential appreciation of that. Do you have a view on how these properties appreciate? Do they even appreciate? Should capital appreciation be thought of, or is it something that we shouldn't take into account?
Honestly, our learning over the last 5 to 6 years has been that this is primarily an aspirational product or asset that you're investing in. From a returns point of view, it will beat residential returns, but this is not something that will beat FD.
Got it.
Right? So if you're looking at utilizing this home on a regular basis, even if it's 20, 25 years and you really want to have your own personal home, which is great, you can get a yield of somewhere between 3 to 4%. The capital appreciation in all of these markets can vary. So there, I think it's very important to be careful. It's not a city where there can be significant capital appreciation taking place.
Got it.
So here you got to be a little careful in terms of where you invest this money.
I love how frank you are about this. Like, you know, we are not misleading people and saying that, look, you will get a lot of capital appreciation on it. It sounds like very logical that you get a certain return. You also get to enjoy the property.
Yeah.
And that's how you should think about it. Any capital appreciation is almost like an added benefit.
Exactly.
As opposed to planning for
Exactly.
that bit. Let's go into the consumer side. How did you think about who your ideal client is? Because even when it comes to the kind of experiences everyone seeks, there are so many different, like when young folks travel, there's very different, whereas when families travel, it's kind of different.
Yeah.
So how did you hone in on the kind of customer that you want to go after, and what was the insight that they were that you found?
Yeah. For us, what we looked at was group travel. We realized that when it comes to group travel, and a group I would classify as soon as you cross 4 people, so beyond a nuclear family. So if it's 5 and say up to 30 people, what would be an ideal environment in which they can spend time?
Got it.
So when it comes to group travel, if you go stay at a hotel, say it's 7, 8 of you, which could be a group which is consisting of your family members or your friends.
Sure.
If you go to a hotel, you'll typically have 4 rooms, 3 to 4 rooms. You'll spend time in the restaurant area. You'll have your buffet spread. You'll go to the pool. You'll play in the whatever play area they've created. And all of those spaces are being shared with a lot of other people, right? Imagine at like 11 or 12 o'clock in the night, you want to hang out somewhere. What will you do? Mostly the restaurant will be shut. So you got to go to someone's room. 8 people are in that small room and trying to play cards or just sit around that space. Versus if you go to a home, you have that entire space to yourselves. You have this living room where you can sit there till 3 o'clock in the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever time you want. You can play the music you want. You can play the games you want over there. You can stretch yourselves. You can have conversations you've not had since you were in college and living with your roommates. And I think all of that is why people traveling in groups consider staying at a home versus a hotel. It's all about that feeling of togetherness is what we felt we're catering to.
Interesting.
Right? So the consumer who's thinking about spending quality time together is the one we realized we want to cater to.
That's very clear, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But even this consumer is of a certain economic strata or based in a certain types of locations. So talk more about that.
Yeah. So first was group travel. The second one was what we've generally seen in hospitality is that when hospitality brands get developed, they generally start at a higher price point.
Sure.
Because it's easy to go down and create multiple brands. But if you start at a lower price point, it's very difficult to go up.
Sure.
So what we wanted to focus on was, as we're building this brand, let's start at a higher price point. So it was at that premium to luxury segment, which means that our average room price was somewhere between 6 to 12,000 rupees.
So average room price or average?
So I'm saying room price because a villa could have 4 rooms, 6 rooms, and it can vary, right? So a villa with 4 rooms could be on average about 20,000 to 24,000 rupees a night to even 40 to 50,000 rupees a night.
Got it. And how easy was it to convince the initial set of customers to use it? Because again, the same challenges. They don't know you guys. They're not even sure that the quality that they'll get is worth this price that you're talking about.
Yeah. So consumers actually was the easiest part. And there again, what we did was we just looked at piggybacking on other people's distribution. Okay. So once we tied up with a homeowner, we were responsible for managing and marketing the property. So not only did we sell it on our platform, but we distributed on all other platforms as well.
Sure.
So just like a hotel, like even if it's a Marriott hotel, they'll sell it on their platform, but they'll also distribute it on a Expedia, on a booking.com, on a Make My Trip. We did the same. So we sold it on Airbnb as well. We sold it on booking.com as well. We sold it on Make My Trip as well.
Got it.
So we didn't think about how much sales can we drive directly. We focused on the operations, whereas sales was, say, initially starting to come from Airbnb or a booking.com.
Got it. Now, by 2014, was Airbnb even a thing in India?
It was there, right? There were certain number of properties on the platform.
Okay.
And frankly, how Airbnb grew globally, we did the same hack in India. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But from the supply side, on the homeowners front, as I was telling you, we've had this home in Lonavala for the last 20 years as well, 18 odd years. And there again, what we saw was we used to go a lot at the start, but over time everyone gets busy.
Sure.
And after the first 2 years, it's a honeymoon period where you go there a lot, your friends go there. No one really goes there. So the only people enjoying the home is the staff that's staying there, because they literally are on a holiday. They'll have someone visit that home once a month where they have to take care of a little bit of cleaning, but everything else is just free time. So how do you ensure that home is taken care of? From not only from the point of view of monetarily being able to pay those expenses, but actually ensuring the place is maintained such that when you go there, you actually enjoy the home. So most homeowners that we meet tell us that, I keep going back to the house and the only thing I do there is fix the home. So you're not really enjoying the home. Like 1 month later, you're going to that house, you're fixing the lights, you're getting the place clean, you're getting the garden cleaned up. And then coming back. So the joy of actually having a home and enjoying it completely goes away.
Sure.
And that can only change if it's being used on a regular basis. Because if people are going there, the staff are on their toes, the taps are running, everything is functioning.
Yeah.
So what do we tell our homeowners? What we realize is that, if you actually rent out your home, you're taking care of the maintenance, you're taking care of the money to take care of the home. You're actually monitoring your staff who might be misusing the home or just leaving it vacant as is. And you're also then being able to market your home, which will constantly increase the value of that asset.
Sure. You were telling me earlier that you manage now properties worth 6,000 crores. In that sense, you're almost like a wealth manager who's managing a portfolio of 6,000 crores and giving a certain return to the end investor. As a company, you're helping or customers find the right place to spend their weekends or some time away from their main residence. You also want to give enough return to the property owner. How does your economics work on a per property basis?
Yeah. So first, the way we structure this is actually we don't lease any property. It's so there's no fixed commitment at these properties. It's a revenue share that takes place. Similar to management contracts in hotels, we have a management contract with a homeowner.
Okay.
So we're responsible for managing the property and marketing the property. Actually, in terms of costs, just like in a hotel, the OPEX of the property is taken care by the homeowner themselves. The CAPEX is also taken care by the homeowner.
Yeah.
We are responsible for bearing costs of marketing. We're responsible for any supervision of the property. So say in Lonavala, if you have 20 homes, for those 20 homes, there is a supervisor, we call them a stay experience manager, who will do audits of the property. We'll have a separate team that's taking care of training of the staff. There's a separate team which is thinking about experiences that we can offer the guests. All of those are our costs.
Got it.
So it's generally a management contract. And in this, it's a revenue share that takes place. Generally, 70% goes to a homeowner, 30% comes to us. In that 30%, we're responsible for taking care of our expenses.
And where are these properties? How do you identify?
Initially, we've done lots of things. We started with finding them online, which was the easiest way to do it, and reaching out to them. The second thing we did was we actually went on ground in those locations and we scouted to find which properties we'd want to tie up with as well. So we physically visited a lot of these properties in those markets. The third thing we would do is actually use Google Maps. So on Google Maps, say in Maharashtra, being a more tropical environment, we realize everyone who's going to these properties wants a pool. So we could literally see swimming pools in properties. We used to mark those properties and again, by scouting, try to get more details as well.
So somebody would go feet on street to those areas and knock the door and ask.
Literally, like all of us have done it.
Yeah, okay.
I've done this in Maharashtra, I've done this in Himachal, I've done this in Uttarakhand as well. So, and while you're driving by, you might see something really nice. You'll just stop the cab and be like, okay, let me just find out a little bit more about this property as well. So that was the starting journey. And once we had a critical mass, say about 10 properties in that location, we started getting a lot of references. Why? For two reasons. One, that same owner will refer other owners. The second is on online listings. Say on an Airbnb or a booking.com, when you see 10 properties from the same brand, you start recognizing this as a brand as well, and you want to find out more about what does StayVista do.
Yeah.
So a lot of people start reaching out at that point. So that was the journey. Today, about 70% of our leads come directly to us. People who have either had this home for a couple of years and now want to rent out, or even when they're building their home.
Yeah.
They've literally bought land and they want to plan building a home. Now they reach out to us as well.
And you know, every business has a different unit of economics around which they plan their entire business. Like some businesses have where the client or the customer is the unit of economics. So they think about cost of acquiring the customer. They think about how much revenue you will get from the customer, net profit and so on. In your case, do you think of it at the customer level or do you think at the property level?
Yeah. So couple of things. I think first, definitely at every booking level, it has to be profitable.
Got it.
So if you're making 30% on a booking, and depending on the price, right, of the property, because selling a property at 50,000 versus selling a property at 20,000, the net income that you make on it varies.
Sure.
We want to make sure that on every booking we're profitable.
Got it.
There we have a clear sense on what is our CM1 or CM2. And from that booking, what it comes to is a property. Is it profitable for us? And from a property, it comes to that cluster or that region, is it profitable for us? So that's how we look at it. What's the most important metric for us, honestly, is the region or the cluster.
Okay.
Why? Because as I shared, there is one person responsible, say, for 20 properties in that region.
Okay.
Right? For 20 properties. So if we have 100 properties in that region, we will have 5 of these folks in that region.
Got it.
So justifying a cost on one property is difficult, but if it's spread over more properties, is where we look at what is the margin that we're able to make.
Interesting. So you have like, how many clusters would you have at?
So we call them squads. We have 11 different squads across the country.
So almost like Uber has cities, right?
Correct.
So they look at it in
Correct.
that way, and you look at it in these squads, which
Correct.
are actually clusters of properties.
Exactly.
And there's a fixed cost of managing every cluster.
Exactly.
So there's a salary cost of the people who are sourcing, who are managing, taking care of all of that. Got it. And in terms of like, you mentioned contribution margin. So there is, let's say there's a revenue coming from every cluster.
Correct.
What are the direct costs aside from the cost of the salaries and people managing that cluster?
Yeah. So direct cost for us is definitely the people. The second is your marketing costs.
Okay.
These two primarily make up your costs in managing.
They go towards CM1 or contribution margin 1.
Correct.
What are the costs below the line to go to contribution margin 2?
Yeah. So other than at a booking level, taking care of the marketing and the people associated with it, in every region, we'll have a team which is looking at acquiring properties.
Got it.
We have a team which is looking at managing account management, we call it, like wealth managers,
Sure.
who are managing relations with these homeowners, who are looking at pricing of properties, who are looking at ways in which we can increase our revenue in these properties.
Sure.
So that's what it comes into our regional costs.
Okay.
CM2 is after that.
CM2 is after that. And then there is the corporate costs of StayVista and let's say all of the corporate salaries. And then finally you come to the PBT level. This makes a lot of sense. And did you have a playbook that you relied on because Airbnb was a public company and you could see their financials? Do you benchmark yourself internally? How does all of that work?
Yeah, good question. I think for us, at least initially, Airbnb wasn't there publicly.
Sure.
They listed about 3 years ago, 3-4 years ago. So prior to that, I think the way we structured ourselves was looking at what is that in each region, what is that cluster margin we want to come to? What is that squad margin we want to achieve? And constantly work towards that so that we see how much is getting contributed to the central level.
Sure.
Now, that is from the financial point of view. The playbook that I think we started building out was primarily around acquisitions, revenue, operations, and account management. I think these 4 make our key elements of our business.
Okay, so acquisitions, revenue,
operations, and account management.
Okay.
acquisitions was about how do you acquire these properties, and there what kind of agreement should we have, what type of property should be on board, what is the process of transforming these properties, how do we reduce those timelines. So that playbook is something honestly we built in-house because we couldn't see anything comparable in the market out there.
Sure.
With respect to revenue, it was the pricing strategy that we need to put together. Here again, there are a lot of tools for hotels, but for homes, we saw there is still a gap where someone is able to suggest the right pricing for homes because it's not as dynamic a market.
That's right.
Most homeowners don't change their pricing at all. So revenue was the second piece. On operations, this is a deconstructed hotel, right? It's a decentralized hotel.
Sure.
Instead of having 100 rooms in one hotel, we have it across 25, 30 different homes. So there, I think the playbook we had to build by looking at, adjacent businesses. Say, for example, people who run QSRs and small kiosks. How are they able to manage those across different locations?
Sure.
So that's something we had to put together. And account management is, I think, people like you in wealth management help us in defining that better in how do you manage those relations and do it in a manner that your costs are maintained as well.
Amit, how does the pricing for a consumer change across StayVista, let's say a 5-star or a 4-star property, Airbnb? How should we think about what is the optimal price for an end user?
Yeah. Starting with Airbnb, on Airbnb, basically you'll get all kinds of properties, right? It's just a marketplace like an Amazon is, where you'll get all types of products.
Sure.
So you could get a room at 100 rupees a night, and that could even go up to 50,000 rupees a night. You'll get everything possible on that platform. And it could be a homestay, it could be a villa, it could be a cottage, it could be a hostel, it could be even be a hotel room that you could get. That's one. On the hotel side, a 4-star, 5-star hotel based on the market can vary, but a 4-star on average will be somewhere around 7,000 to 10,000 rupees a night. A 5-star will be somewhere between 12,000 to 20,000 rupees a night. For us at StayVista, it's basically, we've also created multiple categories because each home can be different from a design point of view and an experience point of view.
Got it.
So our highest end category is called Vieda, which we try to price similar to a 5-star hotel. So on average per room pricing will be somewhere around 12,000 to 15,000 rupees a night.
Okay.
Then there is Vista, which will be somewhere between 6,000 to 9,000 rupees a night, which is similar to a 4-star hotel. And then VO, which is our base category, which is similar to a 3-star hotel, which will be somewhere between 4,000 to 6,000 a night.
So it's kind of like something for every price point. It's still slightly expensive.
Correct.
But still you have enough choice on that side.
Exactly.
You personally, Amit, and I guess same for your co-founders, could have found jobs which were maybe more compensation in terms of salaries and bonuses and so on. And for a while you worked outside the family business or even your own business before you started StayVista. You were working in a job and so on. So how did you decide to get into a professional career? How did that journey pan out?
Thanks, Sandeep. It's been an interesting journey, and I feel I've always tried to take a contrarian approach to everything that's happening in my family, and luckily they've allowed me to do something that no one else is doing.
Like the rebel kid.
Yeah, possibly, without being extra rebellious, I would say, but been lucky to sort of explore different things. I actually thought I'll never get into the family business, and which I've never got into. I would have done internships during school days just to do something over summer, but I've never really been involved in the family business. For me, the first thing that I wanted to do was build some level of foundations and find some kind of purpose that I would want to, be able to pursue. Initially, right after I graduated, I actually spent 2 years as a Teach for India fellow. So I was a class teacher in Dharavi teaching grade 3 and grade 4 students. And this was 2 years full time. That was my first job. And then again, I felt, why do this now?
So every morning you would go from Malabar Hill to Dharavi. Like that would be like a big contrast in itself, right?
Yeah. There, I think the first purpose that I wanted to sort of delve into was, do I really understand real problems on ground, and is there a way in which I can make some impact?
And from there, then you moved to a corporate career.
So from there, I moved to consulting, which was focused on solving socio-economic development issues. So still the passion was there.
Yeah.
But I realized again, like, how do you go from 30 to solving the problem at a much more macro level? So going from micro to macro is what I felt consulting can give you exposure to. We were working with clients such as World Bank, IFC, even government bodies across Asia, where we were trying to solve problems related to education, healthcare, energy. So I think it was just a very different skill set that I felt I would pick up. And build a mindset around scale.
How did you think about your personal finance at that time?
So at least the way I've always thought about it is, whether it's personal finance or anything that I do, say taking this entrepreneurial stint as well, is that it's like your P&L as well, right? There's fixed and variable. Whether it's your salary also, you get a fixed and variable.
Sure.
The fixed amount is to take care of your day-to-day, and the variable is what actually creates wealth. So I think that balance is something that I keep thinking about. And the fixed, at least at a personal level, I don't feel I have a lot of needs. Neither does my wife. So I think there, as long as you're clear on the number of what you need, that defines whether you want to be in a job or whether you're ready to take a risk to create a higher variable.
Sure.
And that's how I looked at it. So I was happy with like having almost no fixed and a higher variable. And the variable primarily is equity, right? Which creates wealth. So that's how I thought about it.
And it's not easy, I guess, like, because when you see everyone else, there's a little bit of FOMO, I suspect. I think it's fascinating what you built. I have personally been a user of the product. I actually, like I was telling you, love the website even. Like, it's so evocative, and every time you go, you feel like, you have to visit one of these properties. They just look so beautiful. I also feel like during this entire post-COVID era, a lot of platforms like yours actually gave an outlet to people to sort of experience or do better with their lives, because you were coming on the back of a very grim reality of COVID. So I think congratulations on that, and thank you so much for appearing on this.
Thank you so much.